I'll tell you a story because when my kids were really little, I don't know if y'all remember this show, and if you're in your 20s, you remember it, Little Bear. And most children's shows around Halloween, there's always a scary episode, right? Right? There's always a scary Halloween episode. Was this you or Leo? Are you like laughing?
I think it was Leo.
Okay. So there's always a scary Halloween episode, and in the beginning and the middle of the episode, all of the supernatural stuff is going on. And whatever show it is, it could be like a realistic show, or it could be like Little Bear, bears talk, personified animals. But there's all this supernatural stuff going on, and everybody's pretty scared. And if you continue to watch the show to the end, something happens. But what happened with this one Little Bear episode, this Little Bear Halloween episode, my son, who was really young at the time, got scared. That was the point of the show, right? The show was trying to evoke fear because it's fun a little bit at Halloween to have a little bit of fear. And so we had to stop watching it. And he was so afraid of this show, actually had nightmares about the show. And after a few years of this,
years?
I think it was like years. We couldn't watch this episode, but he watched all the other episodes. And I was watching some other Halloween things that kind of got onto like the formula and realized that by the end, you find out what really happened. It's kind of like the end of Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. I was just going to say Scooby-Doo.
It's never supernatural, right? It's never a ghost. It's always somebody. And so in all of these children's movies during Halloween, there was this thing that they thought was real and scary, and then it gets resolved at the end. You realize that it's not what you thought it was, and it's explained away, and everybody's safe and happy, and the sun comes out and everything, right? It gets resolved. But for Leo, it wasn't resolved because he stopped in the middle. And so we decided to watch the whole episode so he could get to the end of the episode where everything was resolved. What do you think happened?
His nightmares went away.
So I'm a therapist and I'm thinking, interesting. This is really interesting. If something is resolved, the fear of it goes away. And so what if we resolved our nightmares? And so I always had a lot of nightmares because, I'm pretty open about my anxiety. If you didn't know my anxiety story, I tell it in the first episode of the show. But also I tell about it in my book, Anxiety, I'm So Done With You. It's a teen's guide to ditching toxic stress and hardwiring your brain for happiness. Sold anywhere books are sold. So go ahead and get yourself a copy. If you are not a reader, there's an audiobook. Listen to it. And there's also a podcast. So, I've had a lot of nightmares. And so I started to think, okay, what if I resolved the nightmare? So what I started to do with myself to explore this, same as I did with the show with Leo, is that when I woke up from a nightmare, you're really afraid to go back to sleep. And sometimes you go back to sleep, you go right back into the dream. Anybody have that happen? All the time. And it's happened to a lot of my clients as well. But I
actually like that.
You like to go back into there?
But obviously when it's good. But when you wake up from a good dream, just completely change.
Oh yeah, you go back into
and
the
then
good dream.
You like wake up for a second and then you're like, oh, I hope I can go back in. And then sometimes you can't, but sometimes you can, and it's the best.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I love that too.
Back to nightmares.
Actually, you like scary movies. I never liked scary movies. Like Leo and I, when Leo was young, and me my whole life, I never liked scary movies. But Lily's watched scary movies even when she was young, and didn't bother her. So it's I don't know. Anyway, so I started to try to go into my dreams in my imagination. I would go into my dream and I would change the dream. And one time it happened, one time I was having a dream and there was like, bad guys coming to get us. I was at the house where I grew up and I was outside and there was some really bad characters coming at me with weapons. And whoever I was with, I don't know, we're all going to get killed. And I was trying to hide a horse. I think there was a horse and I was trying to hide a horse. I know. But, and so I woke up really afraid, I couldn't hide the horse and someone's going to get me and kill me or whatever. And so I decided to go back in the dream in my imagination where you have the control. So I had the total control and I closed my eyes and I pictured the horse being like a Pegasus horse, because if in your imagination, I mean, there's no limits, right? You could fly, horses could fly. You have magic powers. You could change everything like in an instant that you want. It's an imagination. Anything goes. So I just pictured that the horse turned into Pegasus and we got on and we got away. You just go away or whatever. Maybe you get the bad guys, maybe they disappear, maybe you just fly away and into safety. And the dream stopped.
Hmm.
The dream stopped.